Today, I'm going to show you how to open up these Honda S2000 taillights. The only reason you would be opening up a set of taillights is if you wanted to do any modifications. In our case, we are installing a custom alumicetic kit. All of that is for show mode. And now that we have the boards completely built out, it is time to install it inside of the taillight here. But to do that, we actually have to open it. And if you want to see the whole process of how we built these lights, that video should be up in about a week. The first thing that we are going to learn is what tools that we need to open these. Starting with a Phillips head screwdriver, because the back of these lights have Phillips head screws that we need to take off in order to get the inner housing out of the way. Editing Zach here. So I got a little ahead of myself here on this video because I hadn't actually opened up a set of these lights that doesn't actually hold in the inner housing. The inner housing is the back housing, so all that's holding in is that red reflector, so you don't need to remove those. Next up, we've got some flat head screwdrivers. Now I have two different sizes here. We're really going to use these. This is going to help us get inside the trough of the light. And then once we're inside the trough, we can get this and get a little more leverage, and that's going to speed things up and really help us out. After that, we've got a heat gun. You're definitely going to need a heat source so that you can heat up the butyl that is holding these lights together. So I actually don't use a heat gun, even though I own one. I don't use it to open up lights. I use an oven. This is a very old oven. It was in our house when we bought it, and it was broken, so I repaired it just enough so that the inside would work. But whenever I use an oven, I typically, for most lights, I set it to 220, and I will bake for about 8 to 10 minutes. And then take it out, try to open it. If it doesn't work, we'll try it again. And let's say you don't have a heat gun and you're not allowed to use your oven for lights because it will leave a plastic smell in there for a while until it finally burns off. You can use a hair dryer. Since it's basically a heat gun, just designed for your hair, it will work. It will get the butyl hot enough so that you can open it. We have just found that it is easier and more consistent for us to just use the oven. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to take out the screws on the back of the S2000 taillight. Now, to be completely transparent, I don't know if you needed to take these out in order to get this lens off because I've never taken these apart before, but in most cases, in my experience, you do have to take the screws out to get the lens off. So anytime I see some, I just go ahead and take them out. That way we don't have to worry about it and I don't accidentally break something. Screws are out. We preheated the oven earlier whenever I showed you what oven we use. Now it's time to put it in the oven. One thing I always forget to mention whenever I show the oven is these rubber cooking mats right there. They sell them at Walmart and they're pretty cheap, but I put that on there so that whenever you set them on the metal grate, the metal doesn't melt into the white plastic, which would be awful. And it's been about 8 minutes, so we are going to get in here. Nope. Rag. So for these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in right where the little tabs are at using pocket screwdrivers. I'll have a few of these so that we can loosen them up all around the same time. Now that we have those set in place, I'm going to use the bigger screwdriver, get in here, and then I'm going to twist it this way. Try not to pry like this, because that's whenever you break things. If you can twist it, as you can see, it is starting to let go. So we'll just walk it down. Okay, before we go around this corner, I'm probably going to loosen up right here at the fin. And down this side is going to be the exact same thing. I can't get this screwdriver in here, so we're going to still walk our screwdriver down from where we started, but I'm just going to keep an eye on that tab so that we make sure it doesn't tear or break anything. Looks pretty good. We have two tabs right here, but since we have most of this already loosened up, I'm going to go ahead and just try to pull it apart. That looks good. Pretty easy set to open here. Okay, so the screws were just holding in this little reflector here. You did not have to take the screws out in order to get the lens off. Now that you have the lens off, you can do all the modifications that you want to do, and then it's time to reseal it. So to reseal it, I'm going to cut to a video of us resealing a set of Miata lights. It's the exact same process, but since we are not quite done with these lights yet, I didn't want you to have to wait until we were completely done with the build so that you could see how to reseal it. We're gonna cut to that right now. Once you've done your modifications, then you can start the process of putting the lens back on. We had gray butyl in there. You can see all the way around it was gray. So I've actually got some gray retro rubber that we're gonna put in here to just go ahead and match it. The border on this has to get painted black anyway, so it's no big deal if this is gray. This is really thick. I go ahead and stretch it so that it fits into the trough better, and you're just gonna wanna fill up the trough with the butyl. You really don't want water to leak. Once you have your butyl set in place, you can now get this thing prepped and ready for the lens to go on. What I like to do is use compressed air to clean out any dust or any debris that I have just sitting in there that's gonna make it look bad. On the lens here. Quick tip for this specific lens setup, you can probably see right there, that is angled out like that on the end, and this is angled directly in. So I start here, I push this in first, because if you start here, this side won't go in place. This goes on the opposite side of the fin. So angled spot, just like this. Definitely start here, put some pressure on it. It's on there, but obviously not sitting all the way flush. Now we gotta go back in the oven. Definitely don't want that. Let's open this, take this, set it in there. Got that in there for about 8 minutes at 220. Gonna need you a couple of these clips. This is gonna be used to hold the lens onto the back housing so that while the adhesive is cooling off, the lens stays in place. That's 8 minutes. In order to protect the lens from the clips, I use microfibers. Add clips. Okay, the hardest part to get a clip on is right here by the fin, but as you can see, there's still a pretty decent sized gap. It is possible to get a clip on there. It's just a little difficult. So I have these clamps right here. These are really useful for this. And all right, so now we're gonna let this cool off. And once it's completely cooled, then it will be completely sealed, watertight, and that lens is not going anywhere. Okay, bye.